Summer's here, and y'all know it's going to be a hot one. Beach bods and summer trips can wait. We got a summer-filled news dump coming your way. Comeback season for E3, multiverse confirmation by Sony, and wait, is Loki the key? This is Keeping Up with the Nerds, kicking off year one. From 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California, in the heart of Uptown Whittier, Keeping Up with the Nerds presents issue number 50. My name is Bryan.
Rene.
And Nick.
And welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up?
What an intro, right?
What an intro.
Kicking off year one. That's how we're going to be introducing all the podcast issues from here on out.
I like how Bryan got it down, but I'm not confident next time I have to do that. There's going to be some hurdles.
There's going to be some issues.
Yeah, there's some issues with this issue, with the future issues.
I can't wait to hear those outtakes.
Oh, but you're the one that keeps messing up all your little intros.
First off,
you never posted those, so they're actually
no one knows about that. As far as everybody else knows, I'm perfect.
What if I just like put a blooper reel on YouTube?
Do it.
You should, because honestly, I mean, I think the blooper reels are even funnier than, because especially when I get mad at myself and I'm just like, ah!
Oh man, welcome, dude. This is so great.
Yeah.
Year one.
Yeah, I'm upset with both of you.
Why?
Because you guys got drunk without me. What the heck?
Oh,
you guys had an
yeah.
entire podcast getting drunk, crying. You guys were hugging each other when I got back in here. I was like, what the heck happened?
That's what happens.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know what
You
to tell you.
specifically told me to come at 11 o'clock at night. I thought it was weird, but I did it anyway. Because I'm good at what I listen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come in, and I'm basically just baby feeding these two drunken idiots. Like,
we
what the
got
hell?
really, really, really lit.
What the heck, man?
It's true.
Hey, you know what? I'm proud of you. How far are we into this show?
2 minutes.
And Nick hasn't cussed yet.
I know, right?
Good job. Do you have your notebook ready?
Oh yeah.
Nick, but don't worry.
Why would you automatically
Because
assume
we're getting ready. You're going to blurt it.
It's a new year, new me.
Look, new year, new you. But guess what? I brought some champagne, some sparkling
Champagne.
wine to celebrate because you were left out last week.
Is champagne just sparkling wine?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
No. So yes, isn't it? No, champagne. There's a
It's
thing.
not champagne unless it's in Champagne.
There it is. Yeah, it has to be made somewhere. That's why I was like, I can't say champagne because it's not made in Champagne or whatever you call it.
Champagne.
Champagne.
Yeah, I think mine,
Champagne.
Mike, for once, is the loud one.
Want me to lower you?
Just a little bit.
Hey, listen, I think you need it.
Take a couple notches
Why?
down.
Huh?
Why?
Because my
Is this
voice
issue 51 or is it 50?
Issue 50.
I keep forgetting that the last one we did was an annual.
No, this worked out so perfect
Yeah.
because this issue comes out on the week of our anniversary.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because we officially uploaded, what was it, on last year, June 8th was our...
Like June
For-
8th or June 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was issue 0. Yeah.
And then this is going to come out on the week when we first started working on our stuff, which I think was like issue 0.
Yes.
We labeled it.
Mhm.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we recorded late May, and then we did issue 0, and then we uploaded during that time, and
Yeah.
we just kind of went with it after that.
No, I'm honestly like super happy, super proud because we've got a lot of stuff to work on.
Yeah.
Or a lot of stuff that we want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in the process with a lot of like captured stuff already that we're going to be uploading to our
Yeah.
YouTube channel already. So just a quick reminder, if you guys are not aware and listen to this on an audio platform like Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts, we do have a website, keepingupwiththenerds.com, where you can find all of the up-to-date information on what new issues are coming out, as well as new videos that you can find on YouTube.
Yes.
And if you have not been following us on YouTube, go subscribe. We're at 56 subscribers.
Yes. Content for YouTube is coming.
Yes.
We are working on it.
We just recorded some stuff today that we are very excited
It was
to
actually
post.
really fun doing those.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And then me and Bryan are planning out the Let's Plays. We're going to be doing that soon.
I should really put it on my resume, voice actor.
Yes.
And then just put those in there so that when
know.
people when people actually try to hire me,
Yeah.
they'll then go like it's the same voice, just with like a little
Different
deeper.
Technically, you can put what we do on our resumes now.
Mhm.
We've
Hey,
done it for a
definitely.
year.
Yeah, we've done
Yeah.
it. Oh, we have. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it for a year, so it's technically some like
You
good
know
work.
what? Make sure when you're editing me that you give me like a nice little filter that makes it at least slightly different.
It's okay. I got you.
At a certain point, when we were recording today, I was like, I think it's the same voice.
Trust my editing. Trust my editing techniques. Trust the process.
So, I wanted to talk about something that happened to me on Wednesday.
Oh, what happened?
Hey, working here at the store at Undercity Comics, located at 12920 Philadelphia Street, Whittier, California.
Shameless plug, much.
You have to. And
She pays for the lights. It pays for
she
the lights.
pays for basically us being here. Like,
No, honestly, before
Yeah.
you start,
yeah.
thank you, Susan.
Yes.
And I don't know if she listens to the podcast as much. I think she kind of like
She supports us.
She supports us, but without her and her support, and allowing us to do this, this project would not
Oh, yeah.
go as far as it's been.
Mhm.
Right.
So yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Susan. We love you. We appreciate how much you've been supporting us. We're gonna keep supporting and advertising the comic book store as much as possible.
Definitely.
Yeah, so if you're around the Whittier area or close to the area, come visit. Come visit the store, guys. It's a great store.
And now we're gonna get drunk in your store again.
But before that, I wanted to talk about a story. I was working here on a Wednesday, this past Wednesday, and I had a call from a lady, and she calls me and she goes, "Hi." I'm like, "Hi, hello." She goes, "Do you guys buy comics?" And I go, "Unfortunately, we do not buy comic books." She goes, "Okay, well, do you know how like the pricing system works on them?"
Right.
And I'm like, well, it depends on how far back they go. If it's like comic books from the 50s and before, worth a pretty penny. Or if it's anywhere between like the 70s and 60s, still worth some money, but not a lot. Depends on key issues. That's the thing.
Depends on the issue.
Yeah. So she told me that basically she is looking for a ballpark range of a collective amount of comic books of how much they would be worth altogether.
Okay.
Because
So who pissed her off?
no, she pissed off someone.
What?
She basically
twist.
she told me that she took her son's comic books that he had
Right.
his whole collection and just donated them.
No.
Just with no money, was no transaction, just basically grabbed them and gave them away.
Oh my god.
The son
that's a federal
was
crime.
the
That's a
son,
federal crime.
Then she told me, "Yeah, my son's not talking to me right now."
I wouldn't. I would be so upset.
So I told her, she goes, "So how much would it be then?" I'm like, "Well, it depends. Do you know what decade
issues?
or like issues or decade era they came from?" And I go, "Listen, if they came from at least, if they were before or at least between 50s and above, they could be worth several $1,000s.
like late 40s.
Yeah,
early,
collective, and I'm saying like I'm
late
like, and I'm lowballing it. It's like basically not graded, but if it's collective amount, like a good stack of comic books, several $1,000s. Because I told her
it would also matter if whether or not they're in sequence.
that's another thing.
That
If the
also-
whole collection's there and stuff
if,
like
if the
that.
whole if he has issue 1 all the way to issue whatever the run was, and they're all in really good condition and everything like that,
Because she didn't know that there is value in comic books.
Oh, yeah.
She did not realize that.
I feel like I want to throw up.
and cards.
So
too.
I told her this.
Cards,
I
too.
told her there. She goes like, "Wait, you mean?" She was shocked that I even said $1,000.
Right.
She goes, "What do you mean that they go over 1,000?" I'm like, "I'll tell you this. The first issue of Action Comics that has the first appearance of Superman auctioned 5 years ago, auctioned over $1 million." And she goes,
Right.
"Oh my God." She's like, "I'm about to throw up." And I was like, "Yeah, there's value in books, And she goes, "Well," she goes, "Well, he didn't have anything from like the 50s. This is like from like 70s and 80s." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." That's fine. I go, "If it's from that era," but the thing is, depending on those issues, if they were key issues, they would be by themselves, like maybe close to like $500, $600. Just one issue alone.
There are some key issues in there that are like 20,000.
Yeah,
depending on what, like if you
and
got
the
like
cover.
And if the cover was like a special edition like variant.
I told
like that.
So I told her if they're from 70s through the 80s, I said at least minimum is over $1,000 collectively. And again, I'm lowballing it for her because
you just eyeball and just give it to her straight, dude.
No, dude. She was. I felt bad because she was just the more I talked, the more she got worried. You know,
the more she was like, I understand why he hates me.
Basically, she wanted to do was basically pay her back, pay her son back for giving away the comic books.
What she probably thought was at most it's like $600.
No. And I told her it was at least $1,000, at least, and that's again,
$1,000?
At least like over $1,000.
That's a hard low ball.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. But I'm thinking like this lady can't afford over $5,000 to just give someone.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that it really does depend because I mean it really depends on what he was collecting.
Yeah, that's the thing. And and she's not saying she doesn't know what he collected.
Yeah, and that's the problem though because comic books, especially from like the 60s and 70s, they can go anywhere from like 5 cents to $1,000 for a comic,
just for one.
Let me put it to you this way:
that is such that's such a huge range without knowing exact issues, and I'm sure this guy doesn't remember.
No,
at a certain point,
I remember. I mean, like
forget.
if anything, he probably doesn't know exactly what he got. He probably He probably thinks he has a certain issue of something, but again, I don't know.
Like, do you know how excited I was when I found I have 4 copies of The Death of Superman in the black.
Oh, in the black
with the
poly bag.
Cape, with the cape in the background. Yeah.
Well, but they're in the plastic.
Oh, it's in the bag sealed.
It's in the bag sealed, and I also have the white one, which is the Return of Superman.
Yes.
Also in the white sealed.
Yeah. Don't give out your address.
Well, the thing is that I looked them up. They're only worth like $30-$40.
Yeah, because they came out in the 90s, and there was a large printing run of that.
They had a huge reprint of them as well, and people just bought them up. So a comic book that you would think the first time Superman ever died in a comic book would be worth like so much money.
Yeah.
It's only worth like $40-$50.
Same thing with the first. Same thing with the first issue of Spawn.
Yes.
You would think Spawn, very well-known character, reached over 300 issues now, about to hit 400 pretty soon.
Yes.
You think that the first issue would be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars. No, it's only worth maybe, again, less than $20.
I'll put it to you this way. Yeah. So I'm lucky that my fiance respects the collections that I have at home because I've told her this, because I've told her stories, because I have family members that like also collect things. I had an uncle I have an uncle that lives in Maryland. His comic book collection got flooded. So he lost issues that were printed out in the 60s, like 60s and 70s. Yeah, so he was devastated with that. I have mine in a plastic box. And you know this. My most valuable for me personally is Gwen Stacy's first ever issue. First appearance. Spider-Gwen. Yeah. What did I say?
Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy. Spider-Gwen.
First appearance.
Yeah. First appearance, first comic book, issue number 1, first print. I think that's going for like $250, $300.
Yeah, $200.
Non-graded.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ungraded, more. And then depending on the grade, it can then go up somewhere near like closer to $800 to $1,000.
Yeah, and I told this to my fiance, who was like oblivious to the entire thing, and I've like kind of showed her over the years, and like, oh no, this is worth that, and that's worth that. And she's like, damn, like no, it's harder for her to believe. But what a freaking story to start off year 1, Renee.
Right? I mean, that is crazy though. Yep. That is. I would be so upset.
I'm gonna open up this bottle of sparkling wine now to start.
Yeah, while he's opening that, and before we move on, what was it? When my dad is a real estate agent, and he was doing a project. He was selling a house for this guy. When we were selling the house, the guy ended up, as soon as the deal closed and we sold the house and everything like that, the guy's about to move out. Guy passes away in the middle of this transition.
Oh wow.
And everything like that. So his house is now vacant and people are moving in. And the deal has already been closed of like we sold it.
Yeah.
So we call up his parents and then the parents go, we'll go down there and then whatever we leave, you guys can have. You guys can do whatever you want with it. We don't care. So we're like, okay, that's fine. They took like 5 things. And this guy was a hoarder. So we came in one day and we found an entire room with like long boxes. We kind of don't even know what's in there.
Oh, wow.
Like there's just remember like a year or two ago I called you and I was like, hey, do you buy comic books?
Oh yeah,
I called you specifically because we had gotten all those comic books and
wow.
we didn't know where to put them. Like like legitimately I was like, I don't know where to put all these. And then I need to take them. I still have them. Like I just haven't had time to like take them to Frank's.
Can we shoot a video and see what's in those long boxes?
Okay,
I have I mean I have them. I just need to go get them.
Okay.
They're in a storage area.
Let's do it. I'm down for that. A
Yeah.
video. And
that'll be like part of a vlog that we do. Yeah.
But this guy, I'm gonna tell you right now, this guy collects. Like he was a collector.
No, that's fine. And
I don't know. That's why I'm saying I don't know what's in them.
Let's do a video.
I honestly,
Yeah,
like I need to honestly like look through them and find, because the last time I checked one long box and I think most of the comics in there were like $15, maybe $20. I mean, that was like the high end.
Let's
of it.
Make a video.
He also, one of the coolest things that he did have is he had a hardcover Long Halloween. It was a hardcover, like nice, like leather bound.
It could have been a collector's edition or
it was a collector's. Yeah. It was a collector's edition, and it said that it was via like 1986 or something.
Oh, so that was maybe when it first got printed out in a trick. That could be worth something. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not selling that one. That one's mine.
I need to look at that. Yeah, definitely.
It's really nice. The thing I wanted to do is because I know, especially with Long Halloween coming out, I'm almost positive that they're gonna start having like signings and stuff like that. I really want the authors to sign that one. But also the cooler thing is, what was it? I do have a signed copy of pins. They're Spider-Man pins, about yay big, 5 collectors of pins. It's 12 of 212 of 10, signed by Stan Lee that I found in the box.
Really quick, I was able to get my since you said sign something, that just reminded me that I recently got my Power Rangers Soul of the Dragon Tommy trade. J.C. David Frank I got that signed by him.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Are we ready to move on?
For the
topic?
Hey,
all right,
man,
let's
listen.
do it. Hey, I'm gonna pop the champagne.
Yeah, you do you.
Pop it.
Ah! Hang on. Ah! Wait. Ah! I'm scared.
Let Nick do it then.
No, I got it. Ah!
You okay over there, champ?
That was more dramatic than it needed to be. All right, let's go. Everyone, pass the cups around. Nick, go ahead. Introduce the first topic. E3, right?
Yes. So, as some of you might know from my past experiences on podcasts, I used to be inside the video game industry, and I've always loved and enjoyed going to a convention that takes place in downtown LA. One of the biggest gaming conventions in the gaming industry. It's called E3. Now, in E3, it's basically where all of the next video games and all of like the companies and everything like that go over. This is what we're going to be, making for the next upcoming year. It's release dates for video games, consoles, everything like that. And last year, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we didn't exactly have a proper E3. It was scheduled and stuff like that, but then it had to go to digital. This year is still going to be digital. But the problem is that companies are starting to find that they can reach more people via digital.
Oh.
Now, this convention has been going on since maybe the mid-'90s. And now it kind of looks like it's starting to die out.
Because this convention wasn't necessarily like for the public to go in and check out these things. This was like a convention for buyers, right? Like companies were supposed to come in.
No?
No.
Ooh. When it was when E3 was first done, it was meant for the companies to come down and basically reach out to their customers. So it was a lot of like media, it was a lot of different stuff like that. Later on, what happened was that a lot of media and a lot of like people in the industry said that E3 is too packed. Because at a certain point, I mean, anybody who's been to a con, especially in LA, will know that if you go to a con in LA, you're probably there's like things to do. You're probably in a line for like an hour and a half.
Yes, that's LA for you.
Yeah,
an hour in traffic to move 5 miles, an hour in a line
to move like 5 feet.
Yes,
and but the thing is that when you do that, that means a lot of like the people that were trying to like test the games out and stuff like that, sometimes they would be too packed and like they would have to come back. And that really frustrated a lot of like news people that also it made a couple of people in the industry a little upset. And so what ended up happening was in the mid 2000s, they then said, okay, cool, we're not going to be allowing regular people to be coming in. Like if you're not in the industry, you can't come into E3. And then that was like the golden times of like E3 was just for people in the industry. You couldn't get in unless you were there. That was when I went. And that was fun.
Simpler times.
It was. You know what the funny thing is that it was because here's the thing. I experienced E3 from the aspect of people of exhibitors only to then exhibitors with some people that with like another like 1,000 people, because like I think 2 years after I went, I ended up going again, and that was when they reopened it up to people, and that was madness.
Oh yeah,
that was like I like if it wasn't COVID and everything like that, that would have been like an epicenter of a pandemic.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, just out of the amount of people, like I remember a couple of years back when it was still popping, like people it'd be like crowded, essentially.
Yes. You wouldn't even be able to make it to you wouldn't even be able to drive into downtown.
It's so funny to me that like people that no one that was from what I understood is that the public could go in. They were starting to sell tickets and open it up more, and that happened for like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, I think people started kind of like they kind of had like little Disney tips for people that wanted to attend E3. Like, oh, if you're trying to visit like a big AAA title, don't do it. Go visit the indies that have no line and stuff, because you'll enjoy E3 a lot more in that sense. But it's like, because here's the thing. For me, it's like in middle school and high school, E3 was like that time where you would jump onto like GameSpot or IGN, right? And look at the new announcements. Oh, Nintendo's going to host an event. What's the new console going to be?
That was when you went to G4. That was when like G4 and like what was it, like Attack of the Show and all that was
that was that. But then
that was if you weren't going, because that was before IGN and all them were super big.
Yeah.
Because the main people that were really going to E3 and made it like a huge name was G4.
Yeah.
Because G4 was kind of like the only people that were really
G4's
there.
back, by the way, right?
G4
it's coming back. Yes.
It's coming. It's still coming back.
No, it's back.
Is it back?
Yeah,
they're doing shows already.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're already starting to do shows. I think Adam Sessler has like a show now and everything like that. I mean,
we should be on.
Yeah,
G4.
I mean it's pretty cool
G4.
and everything else. I'm really happy. I'm really happy that G4 is back.
Same
But
here.
the thing is also I don't know if it, because I haven't really checked it out too much. I'm just more worried about whether or not it was funny in the early 2000s.
Let's pitch our show to G4
and stuff like that, because also a lot of these people are in their 40s. Like it's really,
that's another thing. I saw like Adam Sessler.
In our early 30s.
It's really weird when you're hearing video gaming tips. Like as a kid, Adam Sessler and all these other people, like they were in their like 20s and stuff like that. So they were kind of like the cooler older brother that was like showing you a video game that you've never heard of.
Listen, we're not Zoomers. We're millennials with gaming experience. We're not going to be playing Roblox and Minecraft and
one of my students
Fortnite.
Swears by it. One of my students swears by Roblox.
No, we can play legitimate games. Right. I will. If G4 picks us up, I'll leave my job and and go inside for G4.
God, I hope that wasn't like a hard decision. You were just like, I don't know, go on G4 and be on TV.
If they pick us up, sure, why not, right? Like, it'd be great.
Stay at my job.
So to like go on with the topic of E3 and stuff like that, I think out of the three of us, you and I are the gamers. I'm starting to slowly get back into it, and Rene, unfortunately, nothing yet.
No,
but you're getting there.
I'm looking at it right now.
Rene has a stable roadblock. He has been making mini games for the past 3 years. And he's been doing it on his phone. He has like 1 million Roblox, Blockbucks or whatever.
I'm making money on Roblox.
Yeah. Man. He's which one?
I got a
mind. He likes to introduce himself to the kid. He likes to like make friends with the kids, not in a weird way, but
what? Dude, go back now. No.
See, now the jokes are on you. How do you feel?
Not good.
There's really not much to talk about in terms of E3, because right now it's kind of like teased that the event's going to happen 3 weeks from now, right? I mean, the only thing we can necessarily... Yeah, it's in July?
You're July.
I thought it was in like
mid-June.
I think it might be. Let me check.
Well, regardless of it, I mean, this we didn't happen last year, so this event is. I feel like this year is either E3 makes it or breaks it. Like, there's no. If this doesn't succeed this year, I don't think companies are willing to come back, given that some major companies like Sony and Nintendo are not even a part of this anymore.
Sorry,
they're doing their own thing.
It's going to kick off June 12th.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mid-June.
Yeah.
So, you've got Sony, you've got Nintendo. They're doing their own separate things during the week of E3, but they're no longer associated with that, right? Yeah. Now,
so Nintendo, what they did is because so when I used to do booths for for E3, it's a very expensive thing to do.
It is.
Like a 10 by 10 booth, which is not a lot of space inside of a convention center. Like a 10 by 10 is not a lot of space. So that's 1,000 square feet. That is somewhere in the range of like $50,000 to $100,000.
What?
Yes. Wow. And that's not including like your electrical and stuff like that.
What?
Yeah.
50,000. And these numbers aren't fluctuated. This is legitimately you are an actual source.
Yeah. No. When we were going
$50,000.
And then not only that, but then also because that's just like you getting the spot, and then that's like you also paying for them to set up your booth.
What? But then you're not making any money in return. So if someone is starting up an indie company, right? Like you put in $50,000 for this spot here. You're trying to advertise your small game that you're trying to do, which is probably good. We don't know. But then you're banking on the fact that this game actually sells. And if it doesn't, you're $50,000 out of luck.
Right.
That sucks.
Well,
so now I understand why people are pulling out from this.
Well, not only that, but also that's another reason why a lot of the companies and a lot of the parking lots that are next door, what they ended up doing is they ended up starting to sell their parking lots to these indie companies and going, hey, for $10,000, you can put your booth here.
Why not?
And it's private property, so they can't tell them anything. Not only that, but then also what they just do is they just hire a security guard and they say, we need you to check and make sure that they have an E3 badge. So they come over, you check, you show your E3 badge, they scan it, and then they come in. And then you go, okay, cool.
And
you have indie badges.
Are they associated with E3 at all, or is this just kind of like piggybacking on the fact?
A lot of them are associated with E3 because they still like scan your badges and stuff like that in the convention. But the thing is that they don't really, because the convention center has its own security and everything like that. And also, if anybody ever like wants to get into E3, make friends with security guards.
An unofficial tip from Nick.
No, we used to give one of the security guards. I remember her name, but I'm not gonna say it. But we used to always give her sandwiches, and like we would give like her entire staff like sandwiches and stuff like that. And then there were times where names didn't match badges.
Ooh.
And people like one was like a Jennifer, and it was a dude, and and she looked at the badge, looked at us, looked at the badge, looked at us, and then she went, "All right, move along." and she just allowed some stuff to happen. So make friends with people that work at cons. They're really, really cool.
That's a tip from you, not from Keeping Up with the Nerds. FYI.
That's a tip from everybody.
No, that's a tip from you, Nick.
No, but it's really cool. But the thing is that Nintendo, what they ended up doing is because, mind you, a lot of the time, Nintendo had some of the cooler booths.
It's Nintendo. Yeah. They're a toy company.
That's essentially what they are.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great example of what
they're
Nintendo
a toy
is.
company.
Because Nintendo made a dope booth, but the coolest thing that they did about their booth is they put walls up around their booth.
Yeah, so you can't see.
And there was only 2 entrances, and there were people covering the entrances. So the only way that you can actually get into their booth is by standing in their 2-hour line.
Heck yeah.
But the problem is that it's a 2-hour line, and the booth is this is only open from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. So if you spent 2 hours here, that means that if you try to go to like Sony's booth or any of the other booths, you're spending another 2 hours. So that's 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours.
For like a 30-minute experience.
For like not 30-minute, like a 10-minute experience.
Oof.
Like these, like they were like 10 to 15 minutes because, mind you, they have to get they're putting butts in seats and they're sending them out, and that's it. And that's basically it. You're getting like a 10-minute experience, and they get you out, and they put somebody else in the seat.
So let me ask you this, okay? Because long story short, companies are not going to be involved with E3. E3's got like a make it or break it year at this point. It's all online. They're trying to get influencers to be a part of this thing. Is there anything left to be excited for in E3, or? Are we even gonna watch it? Actually, Rene, you know what? Because you haven't played video games in over a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna try to get back into it, but
definitely, yeah.
Are you excited for E3 at all?
Not really, because wasn't it that so E3 was canceled, right?
Last year,
and they didn't even do a digital thing, right? It
No,
was because
they did a small. The companies did digital things on their own.
Yeah, but
so E3 wasn't affiliated.
Microsoft and Sony did their own things.
Ubisoft, Activision.
Yeah, they did their own things.
Yeah, they all did their own presentation because a lot of them have presentations to do.
Now, before COVID, wasn't the last E3 a dud?
It's been a dud for the last. If we go back to 2020, yes, no, don't think about it. Technically, it has been because their numbers have kept dropping. Like they fill their stadiums or their venues up with like people, but no one really watches the events because, like, that's just the thing is that like if you're working a job, what you're gonna try to figure out is how to catch that information, after the events roll out.
Yeah, because I remember. It was either 2017 or 2018 where they either made it. I don't even remember if they made it public, and it was most of the content creators didn't like that as of YouTube wise because they couldn't get either certain exclusives or they couldn't even record them playing certain games because there's long lines for everything. That's why. So that's why it irked a lot of content creators.
Well, so my first year at E3, what I did is because the booth that I was working at, we were giving away slippers.
Fun.
With our name on it. We were giving away slippers with our name on it.
Slippers.
And what we ended up doing is I ended up going out. But the thing is that everybody loves E3 swag. For a long time, that was like my outfits for like a year. Is I would go and then I would get like t-shirts. I would get exclusive E3, and they would all have E3 in the back of it, and it would just say
E3 sucks
and everything like that. And then basically I would wear those shirts for the entire year. And I just had like a rotating like thing of like, this is for my E3 2018, this is my E3 2019,
memories,
stuff like that. But what I would do is I would walk up to the booth and I would be like, hey man, I only got 20 minutes to work to get off. Can I, if I give you some slippers, will you get me into the booth? And he goes, yeah, sure.
Wow.
I was
Bribe him with slippers.
Right? Dude, I was doing that like every booth. Like I skipped every line. It was great.
That's awesome.
It was so awesome. And then I was telling them too. I was like, hey man, can you guys give me? I was like, if I give you some swag, can I get some swag in return so I can give it back to my like employees that can't leave the booth? They were just like, yeah, man. So they got like a whole bag full of like goodies and everything like that, and they filled a bag with it. And then I was like, ha ha ha, I have no employees. And then I would walk around, and that's kind of how I got around E3 and stuff like that. Once I stopped working, I was very upset because I didn't have exhibitor on my badge anymore, so I couldn't pull that off.
So before we wrap up this topic, Rene, are you excited for anything? Not just E3 specific, but
just like what
anything in general. The summer is a summer of games.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. It's like when big announcements come up. So out of everything, Sony, Ubisoft, Bethesda, EA, Nintendo, Microsoft, what are you looking forward to? Like, what's the one thing? Or do you want to think about it and we come back to it?
No, I could say right now at the top of my head, like, I want to see at least a trailer for the new God of War.
Delayed till 2022.
Yeah, and that's what.
But a trailer could happen.
A trailer or a teaser, footage.
The God of War symbol comes back, and then it's just like God of War 2022.
That
honestly, that's all you need.
But they did that already.
Show me like 2 extra seconds, and people will go like, "Oh my God, God of War!"
Nick.
Okay, so what I'm mainly interested in is, for one, I want to see what Nintendo has to give, because Nintendo has had many reports saying that they're going to have a new Switch.
The Super Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Super Nintendo
Switch. No,
yeah, that's what it's called.
So they're saying that there may be a new Switch. PlayStation, Sony has been talking. A lot of like different people have been saying that there might be a new PS5 that's going to be coming out. It's going to be like a slimmer version of the PS5.
It's a downgraded version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole point is to match Xbox with their downgraded version of the Xbox.
Sure. Okay.
Because the Xbox has the big one and then has the smaller one. That's
the Xbox Series S.
But it's like $200 less.
Yeah.
And it's all digital and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm really interested in is Xbox. Xbox is going to be doing a joined press conference with Bethesda.
And interesting. Wow.
That's going to be really interesting because over the past year, they ended up.
Okay.
They ended up acquiring Bethesda, and I'm really interested to kind of see how what Xbox does.
Todd Howard walks out, and he's like, "Guys, Starfield." Everyone just drops their pants.
Well, that's the thing, though, is because usually after acquiring a company, Microsoft just says, "This is our company now."
Wait.
Like now you're doing it under Microsoft.
Wait. Todd Howard walks on stage for the first time.
Okay.
Teases Bethesda stuff. He's like, "Yeah, my name's Todd Howard. You know, your guys is God. Your false God." Says some stuff, yada, yada, yada. All right, guys, I know you guys have been waiting for this, so not to delay anything further. Backs up. Screen turns black. Boom. Boom. Butterdom. Boom. Elder Scrolls 6.
That would be cool.
No, it wouldn't be cool.
That would never happen.
Yes.
It would never. It would never happen.
No, don't.
I mean,
say that.
I guess if you like Elder Scrolls, you'd be
Fallout 5. Fallout 5.
Honestly,
Fallout 5.
I can imagine a new Fallout game. Maybe
Fallout 5.
and then just it glitching like crazy.
Maybe another Doom.
No, Fallout 5. Dude, I just excited myself with.
You're the only one.
The only one that was excited about.
Yeah. I don't know. Every time we talk about E3, I always like start to just kind of like overhype myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn.
I imagine that what was it, Ubisoft?
What happened to Cyberpunk?
Anyway,
you're a monster. So what was it? Ubisoft, I imagine, is going to release another Assassin's Creed. They're going to show more things about Far Cry, probably a new Division game, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just interested to see what all the companies are going to kind of release. PlayStation, nobody really cares, so it's fine.
oh,
I've never liked any of Sony's stuff. Like Sony, like, you know what I really want? I want another Ghost of Tsushima. Give me a Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Yeah.
God of War. God of War, and I think that's like the only game I really care about. Like that's about it. And I think
they stopped doing like Uncharted.
Yeah, unless they're gonna do like the Uncharted's or they're gonna do anything like that. I don't really know. And then I imagine Activision's gonna give us a new Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's because that sounds about right.
That's Activision.
Activision will probably give
6.
us Battlefield is going to show
June 6th, 2 days from now.
Yeah.
As of recording.
So Battlefield 6 comes out in June 6th, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work because Battlefield 6 has a lot of stuff going on and it's all online, and usually those games crash and burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the servers are for that. But besides that, I'm excited for E3. I've always been excited to E3.
Heck yeah, man.
I mean, the only problem I had with E3 is that eventually, once you go like 5 or 6 times, you're like,
yeah,
it's E3.
Look, I'm telling you right now, if I'm excited for 2 things, it's this. It's the Super Nintendo Switch. That is what I'm waiting for because I need something different with the Switch. It's been like, what, 5-6 years now that the Switch has been out?
The Switch has been out for about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
has it been that long?
It's a fun system that they have.
It came out like 2014, 2015.
They have to release some info for Metroid Prime 4.
Okay.
Right.
They're probably going to tease something for Super Smash Brothers.
Well, new character probably.
You know what? I want either another Super Smash Brothers or like don't just tell me, oh yeah, this like you're gonna get this.
No, it won't be that. It'll be another Super
new
Smash Brothers
character.
thing.
That's it.
It's Doom Guy.
Who's Doom Guy?
From
Doom? Oh, I was like, what?
His name.
Doors that way.
Yeah, literally.
That's fine.
Literally in Doom, it was just, what do we call this guy? His name is
Doom Guy.
He's a guy and he's in Doom. He's Doom Guy.
He's Doom Guy.
That's literally how he got his name.
Super Nintendo Switch. Don't care much for Smash Brothers at this point. Probably a remaster of some sort of like Legend of Zelda game or some Super Mario stuff.
I feel like they're gonna remaster another Zelda game.
Pikmin has 3, so I think some sort of remaster gets announced. Probably some Breath of the Wild 2 stuff is going to come out as well. But I've hyped myself up for Fallout 5, so I think they're going to be teasing that.
Sorry, the Switch has only been out for 4 years.
4 years, so Super Nintendo Switch.
Came out March 3rd, 2017.
Remaster, Fallout 5.
I want
Fallout 5.
Super Nintendo Switch Lite.
What I really want is I want a Nintendo. I want some remasters, but I want like a remaster collection,
like they did with Super Mario.
Yeah. But give me like the Falcon. Like give me like Star Fox. Give me
F-Zero.
Give me a new F-Zero. Give me even if you want to put like a Mario game, give me a remastered Super Mario Sunshine.
That did happen.
What did?
No. I want like an actual
That technically did happen. They're not going to do it. It wasn't. I mean, it's okay, but it happened. They're not going to do it.
I know. But I wanted like a real.
Remastered Yoshi's Island.
Remastered Yoshi's
Let's
Island.
go.
Okay.
That'd be kind of sick. Remastered Donkey Kong Adventure.
Or another
Donkey Kong Country
Luigi's Mansion.
2.
Another Luigi's Mansion.
No, that's dead.
No, Luigi's Mansion's actually a solid game.
It is a solid game, but they're not going to do it anymore.
What is it? Luigi's Mansion 4? It would be, I think, because our 3 already came out.
Announced by Game Freak, Pokemon MMORPG.
Oh, there's gonna be another Pokemon game, yeah.
No.
They already announced it.
The MMO, it's gonna be Pokemon MMORPG, and it's gonna be like you get to get your Pokemon and everything like that. It's gonna be just like an RPG. I'm almost positive they're going to show footage of it because it was announced a year ago, and screenshots have already been kind of like leaked.
Yeah.
And everything like that. So they're gonna have a trailer. They're gonna announce a new Pokemon game.
Another color or something.
They already did the Diamond and Pearl remasters.
Yeah, I know, but they're actually gonna.
A new one,
like a new one,
a new Sword and Shield ish.
Yeah, like a new Sword and Shield. They're gonna because whenever they release one, there's another one that's in the pipeline.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, you liked Pokemon? Well, just give us a year and a half, and then another Pokemon game's gonna come out. Even though it's exactly
5 or 6 different Pokemon games.
Even though it's exactly the same as the other Pokemon game that you already bought.
Hey, Rene, what's the timestamp that we have right now?
40 minutes.
Cool. It gives us enough time to talk about the multiverse again.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Nick, you weren't here for last week's talk.
I wasn't.
Good save. Good save.
No one noticed.
They don't know a thing.
No one noticed till you said anything. God.
Well, because it was a good
solid.
It was a good segue on that one, man. It was great. That was
it?
No, so summer isn't just video game stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of movies going to be coming out now that things are opening up.
Yeah.
Disney is going back on that Marvel hype train with Loki coming out. As of this issue coming out, Loki is released that day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
at the time of release, you guys probably have already seen Loki.
Yes.
Because it would probably came out at midnight.
Here's so how was it, guys? Was it good?
Let us know.
I didn't expect that ending either, too. Dude, I know they're hinting at so much stuff.
So the funny thing,
Owen Wilson, is he the guy from Wedding Crashers?
Just
Wedding Crashers 2 announced for HBO Max,
or is he Dupree from You and Me?
But is it Vince Vaughn and
yeah,
Owen
it's
Wilson?
both of them. They're writing. Yeah, I'll show you the thing afterwards.
Didn't they get married at the end of the first one?
Again, they're doing it. It's already confirmed. That was like the big thing that came out today.
Well, it was
on
like
Friday.
the girls were into it too. They're like, yeah, let's go to a wedding. Remember at the end?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So with Loki being released, it's kind of funny.
Am I just finishing the bottle?
Pour whatever's left over. Can you stretch it a little bit more? Thank you. Gosh, man, I'm trying to pass
you
you
were
this.
purposely doing that.
I
don't know what you're talking about.
I'll take some, whatever.
So what's funny to me is that
that's fine.
I feel like every time we talk about Spider-Man, Rene, there's always some more news coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we literally finished up annual number 3.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, some Sony executive comes out and says like, oh, no, just wait until Spider-Man, the new one comes out. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see how we're going to try to connect certain universe from coming out. And or connecting. Like, we'll try to figure out, like, you'll see how certain universes are going to connect.
Yeah. They've already said, I think it was the director for this. It was one of the writers for what was it? For Loki and also Doctor Strange in the Universe of Madness, because it's the same guy writing both.
Okay.
Yes.
So I remember his name. Anyway, he said, I think he specifically said that all of the pieces are there to explain everything. Mm-hmm. Like, we've already put everything inside of its place to properly explain the multiverse and everything like that. And I think that would be really cool. Like, I think that it's really interesting that they're kind of getting the same person who wrote the Multiverse of Madness to then go into.
They're not going to Star Wars this up. Not with all the, like, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams back again. It's like the same person doing two different things.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that if you look at, like, the Star Wars movies lacked vision.
Oh, you hear that, Kathleen Kennedy? Oof.
Yeah,
that was harsh.
Come at me, bro. Come at me.
Just no freaking.
This is what happens when you just kind of go like, kind of movie you want to make? It's just like, oh,
what's the biggest cash grab?
What kind of movie do you want me to make?
What kind of movie can you make?
I hear like political, like, can you make a movie where like basically the resistance is on the run, but we don't really know why, and we have to go to a casino to explain how corruption is in everything. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Why not?
And make Luke Skywalker a dick. just to really round out the movie.
Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
Let's make it work.
Yeah, he's a douche.
No, but
he's a douche in this movie.
No, but it's the same writer who's going to be taking care of two different stories, Loki's and Multiverse of Madness, which is good. I want to say it's not a confirmation, but it's like a soft confirmation, right?
Take down the table, why don't you?
You really want to wreck year one? Start off by like destruction, Nick?
We start year one, and this is how we end year one.
Year one kicks off and ends the same day.
I am inevitable.
But can we say it's a soft confirmation? Because it's not like...
For the multiverse?
Connecting the Sonyverse with the MCU.
I feel... Well, because that was the thing, though, is that they did mention... And I think the same writer was saying, he goes, there is a plan in the works to ultimately connect everything. To connect Mobius, to connect... Spider-Man, to then connect, Venom and Carnage and all these other universes together. How they're planning on doing it, I ultimately think that it's going to be something about Doctor Strange. It has to be. It has to be. Because I imagine what's going to happen is kind of like what they did for DC's Infinite Crisis. I mean, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like, that's what I kind of feel like that's what they're going to go for.
In the comic books?
That, but also even in, like, the Arrowverse. Because they did that in the Arrowverse.
Okay, can we talk about the DCAU instead of any form of live-action DC crap that they've been doing?
Why?
Because I feel like the DCAU is probably a little bit more tamed and probably well-written. Because, like, put it this way. I mean, Rene and I have talked about this.
What?
No. Rene and I have talked about this in the sense that, like, when you look at the DCAU, like, back in, like, the 90s and early 2000s, you had Batman animated, Batman and Robin, Superman animated adventures, you had Justice League Unlimited, and then Batman Beyond was also a part of that. Yeah. And they had all these different movies that connected, and it all made sense. And you would try to figure out, well, how is Batman Beyond, a show that takes place years after everything else happened, how do you connect that back to it?
Well,
even Static Shock.
You know how Batman Beyond was made, right?
Yeah.
How?
Wait, what do you mean how it was made?
Like, why it was made?
Because Warner Brothers wanted more after the success of Batman and Robin?
Nope.
What are you talking about then?
Batman Beyond was created because Warner Brothers was canceling Batman. They were canceling the new adventures of Batman. Then what happened was they go, we're going to be canceling this because we want a new Batman show. Then Buffy is really big on the CW at the certain time. So then they go, we want a new show with Batman as a teenager. So that way we can have these teenage antics. The people that made Batman the animated series then went, but there's no way we can make Bruce Wayne a high school kid fighting crime as Batman. That doesn't make any sense. Not only that, but also they didn't want to lose the continuity that they had already kind of spent all this time doing. And they were like, okay, so how do we fix this? And how do we kind of come up with this? So then a couple of them said as a joke, what about if we do Batman in the future and he's passed on his mantle to a new kid?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that little, like, it originally was a joke, and then Bruce Timm was not into it.
That's his name.
Bruce Timm was not into it and everything else. And then eventually, like, the writers weren't into it. And then once they kind of started fleshing out the story, they then went, oh, this is a good idea. And they really started to like it. And then that's how Batman Beyond got made, was because Warner Brothers wanted a Buffy show, but with Batman.
You're agreeing with this?
No, it's true.
So why do you look at me like you're disappointed?
No, like you didn't know this, man.
How did you not know? Oh, you didn't know this?
No, I said you didn't know this.
No, I knew some of it. I think IGN made a video on it.
IGN did a video. Also, if you look at if you buy the Batman Beyond Blu-ray, it has it in there of like a documentary of how exactly Batman Beyond was made.
But like again, it's like a good way to connect because it's all in the same universe. And
it is.
They've connected everything.
They connected it in a good way. Like I think one of the episodes was it of Batman Beyond where or was this done afterwards where they go back in time and show that what's his name? Why can I not remember his name?
Who?
Young Batman, teenage Batman.
Terry
McGinnis. Thank you. I don't know why that name slipped my mind right now, but didn't they go back and revisit and found out that Terry McGinnis is Bruce Wayne's son?
That was in Justice League Ultimate. It was the epilogue inside of Justice League, the final season
of Unlimited.
Of Unlimited. It was like it's like probably the third episode to the last. It's like right before you get to the end of like the Dark Side War.
Yeah. In
Justice League Unlimited. And when you do in that one, that's when you start going into Terry McGinnis is Bruce Wayne's kid because Terry McGinnis's dad was infected with Bruce Wayne's seed. And
they did some weird crap with that.
They used weird comic book logic.
They tried to. I don't know why they tried so hard to connect Bruce and Terry. When really you didn't really need to, but for some reason the writers of the show are just like, no, let's like.
I feel like that was more of a Bruce Timm thing. Yeah. I feel like Bruce Timm just really wanted Terry to be his kid.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But
that's what made it even better was that it was just Bruce saw something in Terry, a random kid.
Yeah.
As we thought, so he has the potential to take on the mantle, and he doesn't. Yeah.
But my main thing is that's not the point.
Yeah. Sorry, that really ticked me off when I saw that episode. Honestly,
that's not the point. So, but the point, the reason why I'm saying in the Arrowverse is because did you ever watch the Crisis on Infinite Earths event?
No, I quit after like the 4th season of Arrow.
Fool. So, because
the last thing I remember from Arrow is what's his name? The blonde girl, Felicity, and man, names are just slipping today.
Oliver,
thank you. I don't know, man.
Did they just get married?
No, they're driving off.
That's like
down.
Oh man,
that's like season 5. Yeah,
like season 5.
I quit after that. It was just like,
mind you, they handled that relationship horribly on that show.
Well,
it was always on and off.
It's the CW. If it's on an on and off.
But the thing is, it's just like I loved how just like in CW shows they just like they don't know how to write certain women on that show.
Oh yeah,
it's so bad. I'm like, come on, guys.
Actually, you know what show actually is pretty good about writing women? Stargirl.
I hear Stargirl's really good.
Stargirl is super good.
I have to watch that.
Really good,
then.
and it's like very like women empowerment. It's very nice.
Good.
I mean, as a man watching, I assume it's women empowerment.
You were doing fine.
You're
doing perfectly fine, man.
I haven't talked to any woman about it.
This is so perfect because you and I are the controlled ones, right? And then Nick's the edge one here. He's like, I'm just gonna ride the line, like the border of like.
We had a listener, and then he kept talking, and that listener's gone.
I'm being honest. Like I don't know. Like
you don't know. Apparently,
you're right because you know what a girl would. You know what I would do if a girl started telling me about it?
Oh my God, Nick, stop! Just stop.
I'd listen.
They didn't hear you because they left.
But anyway, that's not the point. That isn't the point. Let's get back on track here.
There's ways to write a multiverse aspect. There's a way to write the multiverse, and that's the only.
No, so hold on.
We were talking about.
This is why I'm bringing up Infinite Crisis.
That's right.
That's the entire reason why I'm bringing it up.
And I can't.
I'm trying to bring us all back, and y'all keep hitting me in the face.
Well, because you keep straying off into like these weird edgy spots, man. You jump it, and you're like, "What are we supposed to do?"
He makes a comment, and then I was like, "Oh, Stargirl."
No one made it. We
swung back.
I blame it was Rene.
I'll take the blame.
Yeah, thank you.
You're gonna move forward.
Thank you. All right. So anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is because in the Arrowverse, what they did is they made it so that they kept on releasing TV shows, and then what happened was that you had Arrow and Flash were on one universe. Supergirl was on a different universe because she was on CBS. Batwoman is technically part of the Arrowverse, but she wasn't really there. Black lightning is on a different Earth. And then you basically have like all these different like timelines, and you have all these different Earths. And at the end of Crisis, what they essentially do is they announce, this is Earth Prime. All of the Earths have now collapsed on top of each other, and all of our heroes live on the same universe, and that's it. And so
marry
that way,
them, Rene. Marry the Earths.
They're just like.
yeah, they married all the, and it was done really beautifully. Of the idea of one of the Flash's heroes, or one of the Flash's villains is in National City, and Supergirl apprehends her, and what it happens is when she's apprehending her, the Flash runs to go capture her, and she goes, "Wait, what are you doing here?" And it's like, because this is my world. What are you doing on my Earth? And it's like, oh yeah, like. You guys have always been like this.
Wait, isn't this the same event that had old Batman appear?
Yes, it was like a dark timeline Batman where he like murdered the Green Lantern Corps and Superman.
Why am I forgetting names, man?
Kevin Conroy.
Jesus, I don't know what's wrong with me today, man.
You got me here, baby.
I think it's just we produce so much today.
So,
my mind is fried.
But the reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like what they could do is eventually have these multiverses collapse on top of each other, and then you pick and choose what you want.
Do you want them to collapse with each other? Because look, we understand that you can do it in so many different ways. You can do it a clean way, which is like, okay, each one has a separate universe and they still exist within their separate universes, but people can jump back and forth between them. You could do what they did and collapse them all together, and as Rene was, visually showing us, marry them all together.
That's inappropriate.
No, this is what I mean.
Your fingers don't need to do that. That's inappropriate.
Stop implying I was doing something like that.
I don't know what that hole means.
Nick!
Okay.
I was going to say something, but then I decided not to say anything.
I'm not going to ride that line.
Yeah. I could have added.
No,
I'll say it off.
You want to join me on a
I was going to join.
You want to join me on this fun ride?
But then I got off that ride.
I said, nope, not my time.
I think if I had a couple more drinks of that sparkling wine, I probably would have, but no.
Take my half.
So, okay. I don't want a collapsing timeline in this. If we're going to predict something from Loki, I'm going to say that Loki is going to be the show that has, because what's the organization that Loki's in right now?
The Time Organ. It's
the Time Organization that's in there.
Oh man,
the Time.
It's not like I have a computer.
It's the Time Police.
It's not. That's not what they're called though. They're not called the Time Police.
But essentially, this organization's like in charge of keeping timelines intact, right? So Loki jumping from one to another, stealing the Tesseract, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That pretty much messed it up, right?
I think it's the Time Authority. Time Variance Authority. I was right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the case, do you think that the Time Variance Authority would allow a collapsing timeline so all these things mesh together?
Here's the thing, though. So if you go by what the trailers are talking about, there's this phrase that just keeps on getting said, and it's really odd. It's, we have to protect the sacred timeline,
which is the MCU.
But the thing is that I'm not sure if the reason why they're saying that is because it's the prime timeline.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's sacred is because all other timelines branch off from this timeline. So if this timeline ends, all other timelines end. Or are the time variants, in a way, zealots? And they worship the timeline.
Okay, explain, Rene. You said,
No, it's just like, I see what you mean. Like, it's precious to them and stuff. They don't want
Yeah, because there's especially since they're using, because it's one thing, okay, like when it was done inside of Legends, they were saying, like, it's really important to keep this timeline the same way. We can't mess with the prime timeline.
Yeah.
They were using the words like prime and stuff like that, whereas they're using a word sacred. Why? That's more like holy. That's more like a religious type ideologies, stuff like that. Why would you talk about a timeline like that? Unless you were, in a way, uber protective of timelines. And they do it in kind of a way where they, like, they worship this timeline. That's all they do, and everything else. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see where exactly the Time Authority operates in and what their jurisdiction is and how much they can change and what they can't change.
If their authority is to protect the timelines, I'm going to say this. They're not going to allow a collapsing timeline. I think they're going to keep everything separate. One, for writing purposes. Because I think that if you write in, the Sonyverse, the MCU, and anything else that they want to mix into this, you would have complications if something doesn't work out. Right. You still want to keep it separate so that Sony can work on their own stuff, and this would allow certain jumps to happen. It could even be a possibility that if, Spider-Man's time does run out with Marvel, Sony can pick it up and be like, okay, this Spider-Man is now allowed over here on our side, Yeah. Let's go into predictions for Loki. This is pretty much what I think. We'll talk about more once we see. We'll talk about it more once we see the first episode of Loki.
As of right now, you guys have already seen it.
Yeah,
and you're telling me of whether or not we're wrong.
Yeah,
in the comment section, and that's great.
We love to be pointed out.
I love to be pointed out that
you can visit Rene at the store and bug him with that and say how wrong he is.
He especially likes when you yell in his face.
Yeah,
like without a mask. Like he just loves that. He loves that. He likes to see the spit coming out of your mouth into his mouth.
Why do you have to always exaggerate everything? Is this your job?
That's what it said on my contract.
Yeah.
No collapsing timeline. I think that Loki is going to play he's probably going to be the key to unlocking the universes for them to allow some sort of mix. That's probably why we saw the Vulture in Morbius, right? Or why we see Spider-Man posters in that as well.
So what exactly are your predictions for the show? Because mind you, this show, unlike the other Marvel Disney Plus shows, it's already reported that it most likely will get a season 2.
I don't think, and maybe Rene, you'll agree with me to this. I don't think Loki's going to be a part of the main timeline anymore. I don't think he's going to be as involved in the MCU as most other characters. I think his time is done since his character died in the MCU timeline. What I think is going to happen is that Loki's show is going to be more of a separate storyline that's going to allow mix-ups to happen. So it's going to be a gateway as to why the Multiverse of Madness. It's going to be an explanation as to why that movie exists. Why and how are Venom and Carnage going to be introduced into the Spider-Man universe, or why Morbius is somehow revolved around this. There's going to be some stuff. And I don't think it's going to be super subtle, Loki jumps in there or he leaves a door open and that allows someone to come in. I think it's going to be he'll leave something behind. And that kind of initiates a ripple effect that allows transitionings to happen. Because you said it yourself, doesn't Morbius have a Spider-Man poster on there?
He does. It's a Spider-Man from the Tobey Maguire era.
Again, why would you have that on there?
And on all of the on a lot of the posters, it says, "Where is Spider-Man?"
Yes. So why would that be in there? It brings to question a lot of things.
It implies that Spider-Man has been missing for a while.
Yeah. So I think that this show is more of it'll probably be a sideshow that's not going to be super relevant to what's going on in the MCU now, but I think it's going to be more of a little key that allows certain things to happen. So if a Sony executive, green lights more, more of a partnership between them and Marvel, that'll probably be how they get it in there. Especially if you want to make a season 2. Why is a season 2 being, teased? It's probably because they're saying, well, if we want to make more connections happen, this is how we can do it. And Loki will have his own thing apart from the MCU. He's just going to be the what is it called? The ringmaster of timelines, essentially. Rene, do you have anything?
I think if I had one prediction, I think we'll see. I feel like we're gonna see a Thor character, and I will say, if anything, a Thor character, it'll be Lady Sif. I don't know why. I feel like he's gonna visit Asgard
Your
again.
gut feeling tells you.
Yeah.
Lady Sif.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. I don't want to reach too far.
Reach far. This is the show to do it.
No, but the thing is that I don't know. It's just
we know nothing about it, so that's the best
thing.
part.
I don't know, but I don't know. I don't want to. want to play it safe. You know?
So
I just feel like we're gonna have like another, if anything, like another MCU character featured on that show.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I already know which one it is.
Oh, is
Okay,
this
so
your
what's
prediction?
yours?
Yeah.
Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking that, honestly.
Because
that would be a great way to introduce him.
That would be because Kang the Conqueror has already been cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania.
Which I think that's very interesting that they're going to do that, and they're going to bring him in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Exactly, but unless he's already been introduced.
Yeah.
Not only that, but also, so here's my thinking. I think that Loki is the key to Loki is the key because he has a certain way of doing things. I think that this entire thing is not necessarily that there are variants, but I think there's going to be variant Lokis that have now separated from the timeline.
Well, because Loki has been shown to dress up different ways.
Exactly. So there's going to be variant Lokis that are now messing up different timelines. So Loki is now going in and trying to deal with them. So that might lead you to like Lady Loki. That leads you to like President Loki. That leads you to all these like different variants of the Loki comics of Loki himself.
Maybe that's what it is. When he took the Tesseract, he took different possibility timelines now.
And it could have sent you multiple different ways.
Yes.
And, you know, this is only one variation of where the Tesseract might have taken you. Because in one of the things it said the minute that you took the Tesseract, time started falling apart.
He started smiling.
Go on. I'll tell you afterwards.
So time started kind of falling apart and multiple variances fell out, and you need to help us find them. And there was like one in Pompeii. There was one inside of like 1960. There was a whole bunch of them. And I feel like what's going to happen is that this Loki is trying. So what they're trying to do is he's trying to basically get his freedom away from the time variance. So I need to finish this in order to do the time, in order to get away from the time variance. In that, I think that the reason why he's listening to what they have to say is because they have what the time variance's weapon, which is a Raycon. Which is basically it's a weapon that the time variance uses in order to basically wipe you from history. It wipes you from all existence, so it's a retcon.
Yeah. That's how they retcon Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
So that's the thing, though, is that what about... Because inside the Marvel Comics, there's two heroes. I forget their names right now. But there's specifically two heroes where, like, the Avengers meet them. And they're like, we've met before. Like, we were partners. Like, we were friends. And they were like, what are you guys talking about? And it's like, yeah, apparently they pissed off the Time Authority. And they were, like, famous Avengers. And then they got shot by the Raycons. And they've been wiped from Marvel history. And so, like, none of the Avengers remember them.
Yeah.
And stuff
Is this
like
in the
that.
comics or is this in
it's in the comics. It's in the comics. Like, that's how they explain, like, I forget who it was. I don't know if Rene, if you can look it up.
Oh,
Who exactly? You're like, oh, no,
I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah.
So, do you want to know why I was laughing?
Huh.
Because I will find it really funny if they start to talk about different timelines. Now that, you know, Disney, has 20th Century Fox, they have the legacy, you know, X-Men movies, right? How funny would it be if they actually replicated the retconned timeline that the X-Men have, where they say it's like, oh, you have 1, 2, 3, but then something happened that diverged it right off of 2, so technically it's 1, 2 into Days of Futures Past, and X-Men Origins is like all the way in the back there, but that, you know what I mean? It's like, what if they explain that in Loki?
And the reason why, and I think that's an interesting idea, but the reason why I think it's Loki capturing other Lokis is because who else could capture Loki?
Loki himself.
Yeah. And that's kind of like this idea of we've captured a Loki, we're going to send him out to kind of capture everybody else, put them back in their timelines or put them back in their appropriate areas, erase their memory, and then hopefully fix the timelines.
Yeah.
I think that it's not going to work out the way that everybody's planning. I think that Loki is going to basically double cross the Time Authority, and then there's going to be this...
You're wrong.
Destruction. I think there's going to be a lot of like messed up things.
You're wrong because he's going to double cross.
Probably
double cross.
He's probably because it's probably going to be like Loki switches places with a different Loki, and then he does his like thing, and then this other Loki like is part of the time variant. I don't know.
Yeah.
They'll do something, but I think that Loki is basically going to let the world burn. He's going to let the timelines burn. And
certain timelines,
just let them burn.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be very interesting to watch, and because that would be a great opening to season 2, is that timelines have now been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And what exactly does Loki do about it? Or what does the time variance do about the fact that basically Loki is now this temporal criminal where he's like gone to different timelines and like destroyed things and like totally irreparably destroyed timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be really interesting. Not only that, but also I do feel that because they keep on mentioning Loki and everything like that, I don't think that he's just going to be out in his own. This is going to bring in a lot of stuff. And one person I do want to see at the very ending in an after credit scene, Doctor Strange. To kind of explain what is happening. How exactly can we fix this? Can we capture Loki? Can we fix timelines and everything like that? I mean, he studied the Eye of Agamemnon for so many years. Who better to ask than the Sorcerer Supreme on how exactly do we fix the timeline after Loki's like basically royally screwed it? And I think that would be really interesting. That would be a sick ending, and that would lead straight into multiverse madness and everything else. That would also explain why the multiverse is falling apart besides Wanda Maximoff. Loki's kind of like screwed everything up. Maximoff is also screwing everything up.
Oh, so one of the Marvel characters was the Beyonder.
The Beyonder?
The Beyonder was that they used it against the Beyonder, but they did that because the creator of the Beyonder left Marvel Comics, so they retconned him using that whole device that the time variance use.
Yeah, the X-ray or something like that, or the retcon or the Raycon. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, only time will tell.
Well, by this point,
how Loki's going to start up.
At this point, I think that's going to be interesting because how do you think the show is going to start? Do you think that it's going to be Loki just kind of surfing through the multiverse, or do you think it's going to start with him?
No, it's going to be an explanation episode. You're going to have episode 1 be the explanation episode. You can't just start multiverse stuff with like some sort of adventure. You need to explain certain things.
Because I have a feeling that the trial and all that stuff, that's episode 1. Yes.
Yeah.
All that stuff where like they're sitting him down in his thing. They're doing the whole like, is this every word you've said and stuff like that. All that stuff in basically the trailer is going to be episode 1. And I think there's a lot of stuff that we haven't seen from the rest of the episodes.
Only time will tell.
Yep.
Only time will tell. Anything else before we close out this episode?
No, I'm good.
You had to think about it.
I was like, did anything else happen? I was like,
no,
I'm good.
I mean, more stuff, but it's like minimal stuff at this point. No, there's a lot to discuss. I think by next issue, we should be primed and ready to talk more about Loki now that it's happened.
Definitely.
We're in the talks probably of making, segments for the podcast to be Loki specific where we just discuss that and then any other news that comes out. But summer is packed with news, so there's a lot to look forward to in that sense. Just before we wrap it up, guys, just a reminder, we do have a website, keepingupwiththenerds.com, where you can keep up to date with all the information that we release, any new podcasts or videos. Follow us on there. Let us know what you guys think. We have blog posts on the Nerdy Planet portion of the website. We're going to be talking to some people to spotlight them as well. There's a lot of things happening with the website and on our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed yet, go follow us, Keeping Up with the Nerds. Subscribe, ring that bell, like the videos. Let us know what you guys think. Our podcasts are also uploaded out there. We do have our podcasts on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, with new issues uploaded every Wednesday at 11:30. Am I missing anything?
No, you hit it all.
That's it. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and close this out, guys.
This has been Keeping It With the Nerds, issue number 50. My name is Bryan.
Rene.
And Nick.
Recording at Undercity Comics in Whittier, California. We want to thank everyone for listening to this issue and hope to see you all